How we doing, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Getting Jiggy With It. I'm Will, and today we're going to go ahead and open up Marvel Champions. Now, if you saw our previous, we did do a gameplay of Marvel Champions, so you kind of have an idea of what some of the game components are, but I figured I would still do an unboxing, go through the decks and the cards that come in it, and I thought I'd show you guys what my storage solution is, using some dividers from Dividers Central. They're little printouts that you can get, and I went ahead and used some top loaders to kind of make some nice sturdy dividers for my box. With that said, guys, let's go ahead and get into this box. So, of course, Marvel Champions is by Fantasy Flight Games. It is a battle for your favorite, or it's a battle as your favorite heroes. It is a cooperative card game for 1 to 4 players. I've heard the sweet spot really is 2. I've even heard 1. Some of the different scenarios can be a little bit difficult. The game is designed by Michael Boggs, Nate French, and Caleb Grace. This is what's called an LCG, so any of you have watched or have been around since Pokemon know that that is a TCG, which is a trading card game. There's also CCGs, which are collectible card games like Magic. LCG is a living card game, so these are Fantasy Flight. They do it with a lot of different ones. They have things Arkham Horror, they've got Lord of the Rings, just to name a few. But the core box comes with 5 heroes and all of the goodies you see here, along with 3 base villain scenarios. So we go ahead and get this lid off of here. We'll put it back over here where we always put it. So of course you do get 2 rule books, which is a little bit different than most, and that's because they give you a learn to play. So this is what me and Audrey did in our first gameplay. We did the learn to play, which tells you basically to play as Captain Marvel and Spider-Man to play against Rhino. So it goes through each of the steps of getting set up for the gameplay. Very informative, very intuitive, and it just gives you what you need to learn how to play the game. Once you're starting to play the game, and if you have any questions, you get to look in the handy dandy rules reference. Now this one is the first version. They're on, I think, 1.3 officially. But if you go over to Hall of Heroes, they have 1.4. And this is more of a definition of each specific thing in the game. Hit points, player order, and so forth. And then, of course, more of a detail on the cards. But like I said, you really don't need this. I started reading through it just to get more of an update. However, the actual how learn to play is enough to get you started. And then these, I just left these in here. These are some of the dividers I didn't use, just so you can see an example of what these dividers look like when you print them out. They're very nice, high color, very, very nice job done by the guys over there. So I will have a link below if you'd like to get these to print out. So of course, we'll start with our sleeves. Of course, these are the sleeves we bought. These are available on Amazon. Unfortunately, blue is not available, which is not the big deal for us. But these are Gamegenic sleeves, really nice sleeves. All you really need if you're like us and you're just going to re-sleeve each of your decks is 2 sets plus 1 set for the villain. Normally you would have blue, of course, but like I said, the blue is hard to come by because people like to sleeve all their cards, so blue is out of stock everywhere. So get purple. Purple's a better color anyways. You have your damage counter like you saw in our gameplay. So this is for the villain. So I got it upside down there. So 29, although it does go all the way up to 20. So I imagine that's for when you're playing a single player. You can start at 20 and then go to 19. It's kind of weird. I don't think there's any chance that you're ever going to have somebody with 209 hit points. I don't know. I know not in the game there doesn't. So we didn't use these. These are just your generic... these are supposed to be like your damage hit point tokens. We didn't use them. Like I said, we found that dice worked better when we did our little practice plays. But they are cardboard. These are your acceleration tokens. We didn't actually have this happen during our live stream, but we did have it on our regular. This basically means that additional threat gets added on each of the villain's phases. So there's a baggie full of those. I don't remember how many baggies came in, but we bought baggies secondhand market. So these are the actual threat tokens. Again, we liked using the dice better, so we continued to use those. And we lucked out and had some Pokemon dice that were this color, this yellow and orange. So they just worked out nicely for replacing it. But you do get a bag of your threat counters, so 1s and 5s. And then the green ones, these are the generic. So I was thinking, I forgot the hit point ones versus generic. So first player counter, or first player marker. And then you get, yeah, so you get the green. These little green ones are just the generic ones. So for example, with my web shooters, when I picked up extra shots, or Adri, she had, forget the name of the card, but it allowed you to basically get 3 attacks off with it. Those are the ones you're supposed to use. Again, we use dice. Then these are the status cards. So you get a whole stack of these. So you have 3 statuses that can happen. And it's worded for both. If your character, basically thwarting or scheming, which means thwart would be us, scheming would be the villain. So you have confused, you have tough enough, and you have stunned. So those are the 3 different conditions in the game. You get, what's next? What is next? You get more stuff in this bag. So you get 4 hit point dials, because again, it is up to 4 players. Now, the only disadvantage of this, and I'll have another unboxing, is with the Wrecking Crew, you need to use 4 dials for the Wrecking Crew, which means you don't have enough dials to handle both the Wrecking Crew and the players. So it says use something else instead, so we may not use dials on the Wrecking Crew. We might just go ahead and, again, use dice. Dice seem to work very well as a general thing for everybody. And then you get 4 player reference that has your villain phase and your player phase. And like I said, there's not much to the game. It is a very simple game. That's why you can learn everything in the rules reference book. And then the last thing is, like I said, I wanted to show you guys the decks and our storage solution. So right now, this is just the core box. So these are the heroes that you get. You get Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Black Panther, Iron Man, and She-Hulk. And then you have different aspects that you add. So your basic, your aggressive, aggression, justice, leadership, protection. And then this side is where I currently have all of the baddies. So Rhino is the initial one, and then he comes with Bomb Scare, that's his recommended. Then you have the standard, which goes in every gameplay. Second, you have Claw with Masters of Evil as his recommended. Then you have Ultron with Under Attack. And then there are 2 more extra scenarios you can mix and match, which are more difficult. And then you have the expert mode. But the way these work, so I've got this in here just to kind of hold it. It's nice they added these little grooves so if you have something like a top loader, I mean, that's like perfect size. It's almost like they use top loaders for that divider. But I use that just to keep it from falling over. But what I did was I printed out the divider. And then I had to cut a little bit off of the bottom here. So this isn't the full size. The full size would actually probably be like that. It would probably go down to the end of this plastic. And then I slid it in. I didn't have to cut left or right, but then I did cut the edge of the top loader off. And it makes it pretty much a perfect size to fit inside of their box. It works well for the expansions as well. Again, I'll show you guys the expansions. These dividers are already in there because, of course, I already did all the dividers. So this was the first deck. This was the Captain Marvel deck that Adri was playing. So for her, you got Captain Marvel. She has an ally, Spider-Woman. After Spider-Woman enters play, she confuses the villain. You have Crisis Interdiction. So it is a thwart action. Basically allows her to move threats. There's a couple of those. Then you have Photonic Blast. So this allows her to do 5 damage. And if you used one of the yellow resources, the energy resources, you get to draw a card. So that's very powerful. Audrey pulled that off a couple times. And you have Energy Absorption. So this basically just counts as a triple lightning bolt power energy. I forget what they're exactly called. I apologize. Somebody's going to correct me in the comments. But as you can see, like her healing requires that. Her action here, because it wants you to use that, and it costs 3. It's like a perfect combo there. And then she also has a ability that is used to gain additional attacks. We'll get to that card in a minute. Alpha Light Flight Station allows her to draw cards, and if she's in her alter ego, Carol Danvers, then she gets to draw additional cards. So Captain Marvel's a very drawy character, draws lots of cards really quick to get through her deck. So if she is in aerial form, which is what one of the cards gives her, then she gains additional defense. There it is. There is that aerial form. So this is her superpower. Gives her aerial. It's called Cosmic Flight. 2 of those. And then energy channel. This is the other one I was talking about. If you spend X number of the power resources, then you get to put that number of energy counters here. And then by discarding those, then she basically fires off that blast. This is a free upgrade for Captain Marvel when you have it in your hand. And then for the aggression deck is what they start her with. Now, this isn't the recommended deck for her. It's the recommended deck for the entry, so I figured I'd leave it together. This is how it comes. But she comes with Hulk, Hydra, and then she has 2 0 event cards, which are Chase Them Down, which are kind of nice. Response, after you defeat a hero, you get to remove some schemes. So basically, if you destroy a minion, you get to get the schemes off. A good way to get the schemes off. Relentless Assault with good old Rocket. So this does 5 damage, and then it does have Overcharge, which is really nice. Uppercut, 2 uppercuts. Power of Aggression is nice. This is basically gives you double if you're going to play an aggression card. So it basically means you can get a couple aggression cards out for free. Attack Team, that was the one I was talking about where with the counters. So you put 3 counters on here, and then when you exhaust it, you can fire with those. You got Black Widow here, trying to destroy Tony Stark's tackling dummy. That gives you +1 attack. And then the basic cards are shared. So basically the basics can be used by anybody. So you have Mockingbird, Nick Fury, Emergency, First Aid, Haymaker, which a lot of people say they don't use, but I mean, they come in the starter decks, and that's how we're going to play everything is the starter decks. You do have 2 more energy, so again, very powerful for her deck since she relies on that. 2 for Genius, 2 for Strength. Avengers Mansion is another draw support. Helicarrier, same thing, is I was going to say draw support. It's not draw support. It allows you to pay 1 less resource. And then you have an upgrade, which allows you to ready your hero again, Tenacity. And then every deck comes with an obligation. So this is something that when it comes up or if it gets pulled, is going to slow down your gameplay. In the case of Carol, she's got a family emergency to deal with. And you either deal with that by exhausting, or you basically take another surge. Well, it surges, which means you take another event card. Yeah, her second thing that you get in every deck is your Nemesis deck. So this is her Nemesis deck, is a Kree manipulator, because of course she got her powers from the Kree through Marvel, accident, science stuff, all that. And then you have Yonrog is her actual minion that she must fight, and then she has a second side scheme that gets put into play. So every deck's going to have those sides or Nemesis with side schemes that will get added into the deck at a certain point if it's drawn. Now, there's only one time that can happen per game before you shuffle. Now, if you shuffle, then, of course, you have the chance of getting both people's side schemes and Nemesis pulled out. The second deck they recommend for a starter gameplay is Spider-Man here. So Spider-Man is nice because he basically just keeps bouncing back and interrupting. Kind of like he does, right? He jabs, jives, and makes jokes by interrupting the villains. So you get to draw 1 card pretty much every time you're attacked. And then his regular side allows him to gain a free resource. So Peter Parker gains resources. His decks, you get Black Cat, which allows you to add each card with a science resource, because Peter Parker is all sciencey, to your hand. Backflip, so again, I mentioned he does lots of interrupts, so he prevents damage from himself. Enhanced Spider Senses is a hero interrupt. Whenever a treachery would be done, you can basically stop that. It does cost 1 power to do that, but he gets 2 of those. Swinging Web Kick is huge. I mean, that is 8 damage for 3. I use this all the time when we were playing. That was the way I think I did most of my damage, and he has 3 of those in the deck. The main card you want to get out early if you can is Aunt May. She is how Peter heals. And then you have your tech items. So you have a Forced Interrupt. So when it is defeated, remove 3 threat from a scheme with the tracers. Web Shooter gives Peter free resources. Webbed Up is very nice as well. It basically is a Forced Interrupt. You can then stop them from attacking the villain. But then when they do attack, they become stunned. So it basically stops them from attacking either player during that turn. So the next one that we have is the aspect that they've assigned to him, which was Justice. So Great Responsibility. When any amount of threat would be placed on the scheme, you can take it as damage. So great responsibility. You're going to take that threat on yourself. Power of Justice. So this counts as a double for any Justice card. So it counts as 2 energy for Justice. For Justice. Thwart action, removing some threat. You have a Heroic Intuition. So that gives you +1 thwart. Whereas if we saw in Captain Marvel, she got plus attack. Surveillance team, again, gets rid of threat. So Spider-Man's very good at getting rid of threat, staying out of danger, keeping away from the bad guys. Right here, same thing, interrogation, remove 1 from the scheme. Jessica Jones gives you additional thwarting action. Daredevil, when you thwart, he does damage. So you kind of see the Justice deck is very much built around removing those threat in scheme tokens, right? So, and then same as the other one, the basic decks are pretty much the same. You get Genius, First Aid, so 2 healing, Tenacity's the same, Nick Fury was the same. So most of the basic cards are going to be the same because they do the same thing. As you get other expansions, you will find they have added more basic cards that are a little bit better, a little bit more optimized. And you can go out to Board Game Geek and people talk about it all the time. So for Peter, his actual obligation is past due rent. So basically same thing. You stop the game, you have to perform one of the 2 actions. One is good, one is bad. Well, they're both bad. Just as whether or not you want to do it now or later. Do you want to take an extra event card, or do you want to not be able to take an action with Peter? Well, actually with Spider-Man on the next turn because it'll be Peter Parker. Vulture's plans. So this is his actual nemesis would be Vulture. So that's his treachery for Vulture. And then the minion of Vulture. He has Quick Strike. After the minion engages a hero, it attacks. So as soon as Vulture comes out, he's going to do some damage. And then you have Highway Robbery is Peter's side scheme. Or Spider-Man's side scheme. Because, I guess the Vulture wouldn't be going after Peter Parker. Yeah, I guess he could be. Say Peter invented something new and he wants to steal it. I guess it could happen. So next, we're not going to have any of the aspects in these decks because they're not pre-built. However, in the actual game, it does have pre-built decks. I had to pull these off Board Game Geek to get these printed out because these don't come in there. But they do have an aspect in basic card build. And that's what we'll use, again, like I said, when we do our playthroughs. We're just going to use the pre-constructed decks to give you guys an idea of how the game works. We have TChalla here, so his setup, you get to search for a Black Panther upgrade, add it to your hand. TChalla works, or Black Panther works, by executing his upgrades all at once. So Black Panther, retaliate. After this character's attack, you get to deal 1 damage, so he gets kind of a free hit every turn. Shuri, response. Shuri enters play, the deck upgrade added to your hand. So basically you get to search for an upgrade and then shuffle. Ancestral Knowledge, choose up to 3 different cards in your discard pile, shuffle them back into your deck so you can recuperate anything that you have discarded. Wakanda Forever, resolve special ability of each Black Panther upgrade you control in any order. Resolving each ability is a step in this sequence. So you can basically then tap all of your upgrades that you've got, which are all going to allow you to attack things. So that's kind of what you do. You build up his upgrades, and then you can see tons of Wakanda Forevers, so that way you can attack with all of them. Vibranium is a resource, so this basically just counts as a double wild resource. So you get 3 of those, so that's nice. The Golden City, exhaust the Golden City, so he gets a draw support. And then now we're getting into his upgrades. So the first one is his Energy Daggers. Choose a player, deal 1 damage to the villain and to each enemy engaged with that player. 2 damage instead if it is the final step in the sequence. So that's where that Wakanda Forever comes in, is you make sure you do them in a certain order, so that way you're knocking that one out last so you can get the extra damage. Deal 2 damage to an enemy, 4 if it is the final step. So again, that's even better than that one. Tactical Genius, remove 1 threat, 2 if it's the final step. And then a special armor, that kind of almost looks like Venom there instead of nanites. Looks like Venom taking them over, but 1 damage to your hero, to an enemy, 2 if it is the final step. Right? And in order to be able to use this ability in all of them, you have to use the Wakanda Forever. That's why there's so many. And then here is his obligation. So Affairs of State, so he basically has to go back, be the king, and deal with some things back in Wakanda. And then his nemesis, Here is his usurp the throne. So Killmonger is leading a coup. So that is your side scheme, which of course tells you that Killmonger is going to be your nemesis, along with his treachery cards that you will add, well, if it comes up in the game. Okay, so now we are on to Iron Man, which is Oddlity's favorite Avenger. So this Avenger, well, not this Avenger, this deck revolves around Tony Stark and Iron Man, of course, and you're trying to build, you know, his suit. So that is basically what you're trying to do with Tony, is get your suit. So same as Black Panther, you can do lots of attacks and do a lot of damage. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 to your hand, discard the others. In Tony Stark form, that's how you're going to mill through your deck to get those pieces of your armor. And then in Iron Man, you get +1 hand size for each tech upgrade you control for a maximum 7. So then all of a sudden you get all these extra cards. But here's the thing, his hand size is 1. You basically can't play Iron Man until you get your tech out, because then that's what's going to allow you to be able to draw cards. I don't think you can really play a game with 1 card in your hand. I mean, I guess you could, but it wouldn't be very easy. War Machine is one of his allies, of course. So exhaust War Machine and deal 2 damage to him. Deal 1 damage to each enemy. So he basically is going to almost kill himself, because when you exhaust him, you deal 2 damage to him and deal 1 damage to an enemy, right? But his attack is 2 damage as well. So you would actually do, you could do 2, 4, or you could do 3 damage total, but you would take a total of 3 damage. If you did the thwart, though, you'd be able to thwart and be able to do damage. However, you're still taking 1 damage here plus 2 there. So you're still taking 3 damage. That's a lot of damage. So Repulsor Blast. So basically you deal 1 damage to each at the top of your card, from the top 5 cards from your deck, and then if any of them have the power symbol, you get to do 2 damage instead. So you get 2 of those, 3 of those. I should go back to what I was doing before. Supersonic Punch does 4 damage to an enemy, 8 damage if you have Aerial, which is similar to Captain Marvel, who has Aerial. Pepper Pots is the support. Exhaust Pepper Pots and you generate a resource from the top of your discard pile, so that's nice. Stark Tower. If you're in Alter Ego, so some cards you do have to be either in Hero or Alter Ego. In this case, it's Alter Ego. Exhaust Stark Tower. The player returns a topmost tech upgrade to their hand. And the reason is you might have to use some tech to be able to play some cards, right? Because these count as your actual power, and if you don't have what you need at any given time, you might actually sacrifice them. So Stark Tower allows you to get those back. There you go. So exhaust Arc Reactor to ready Iron Man, so it gives you an additional ready. You get 6 more hit points. During your exhaust, remove 1 threat from the scheme. From each scheme, if he's in Aerial. Okay, so that's nice. And then Hero Attack Exhaust Gauntlets, you get to do 1 damage to if you're in Aerial. So you get 2 gauntlets, because he has 2 hands, right? And these aren't unique. So you can put both of these out. Some items will actually say it's unique and you can only have 1 out at a time. Rocket Boost, so gain 1 hit point, exhaust to spend a resource, gain aerial trait until the end of the phrase. So unlike Captain Marvel that just has it, with Tony you actually have to basically start flying with your rocket boots to be able to get that. And you do have 2, so you have the ability to activate that twice. And then his obligation is business problems. So again, he's got to take care of Stark Industries, which is going to interrupt your game. And then for his nemesis, you have the Imminent Overlord scheme. And then you get Whiplash as your nemesis. And same thing, you get 3 treachery cards, which are going to come up during the gameplay, because you'll shuffle those into the actual villain's deck. Then our final hero in the core box is Jennifer Walters. So she has I Object as Jennifer Walters. It's kind of weird they left her as green. I know for a while she was staying green to kind of show that, you know, you can be yourself as a hero and not have to hide it. But I Object, interrupt. When a threat would be placed, she prevents that threat, limit once per round, so she's good at keeping threat down. But then as the Hulk, she smashes, right? So she got an attack of 3, which is pretty high. Response, after you change to this form, you immediately deal 2 damage to an enemy. So she switches forms, does 2 damage, and that's before you even tap her or do anything else. So you kind of want to flip her back and forth. Some you do, some you don't. Per ally, she has Hellcat, which action return Hellcat to your hand, so you can use that as an action. So once she gets down to like 1 health, use the action, bring her back. Gamma Slam, so hero action, deal X damage to. So actually I messed up on War Machine. That was an action, so you can either choose to do the action and then exhaust, or you can choose to attack. So it's kind of a give and take on that War Machine. You can choose which one you want to do. Gamma Slam does X damage to the enemy to maximum 15, X the amount of damage you have sustained. So the more damage that she has taken, the more damage she's going to do out. Ground Stomp is 1 damage. And then Legal Practice. So this is an event card. Alter Ego. So if she's in Alter Ego and Thwart, choose and discard up to 5 cards from your hand. Remove 1 threat from the scheme for each card discarded this way. So you can discard as many as you want because it's up to 5. So that's really nice. 1-2 Punch. After you make a basic attack using your attack, ready She-Hulk. So it basically means that you can punch once and attack, ready her, and then go ahead and have her attack a second time. Split Personality. So it's kind of weird they're showing this because that's actually not She-Hulk. That's actually General... Oh, man. My brain. Ross. General Ross's daughter. That is actually who the red She-Hulk is. So change your form, flip to your identity card, then draw up to your hand size. So this allows you to flip a second time, because normally you only get to flip once per turn. Superhuman Law. Exhaust Superhuman Law Division to spend a science resource, and you get to remove 2 threat. Right here you get Exhaust Focused Rage, take a damage, but you get to draw a card. So maybe that is supposed to be her. I mean, it looks very red to me, but I mean, this one looks purple. So that is very red. I'd have to find that image in the comics to remember why she's that color. I don't know. I don't think she ever went red and then back to green. I really want to think that's Ross. Force response. After She-Hulk attacks, discard Superhuman Strength, stun the enemy, so you get to stun with your attack. Obligation, got to get to work. So legal work, she's got to go bail somebody out or defend them or however she does. Side scheme, she has personal challenge with her nemesis. So her nemesis, of course, is Titania. And then same thing, you get the 3. Well, actually, Titania gets an attachment. So she only has 2 treachery, but she gets this attachment that could come out. Attach to any minion with the highest printed hit points. For no minions, attached minion gets an additional 3 hit points. So that is kind of dangerous because most of them have about 3 hit points. And so you would need a very big attack to take them out in one go, so it's not a waste of an attack. Alright, so we'll go through the, just kind of quickly go through the rest of the basic cards. Some of these are going to be duplicates because we already saw them. But you're not Mockingbird, you get 2 more of pretty much every card I think that we've already seen. Yeah, so 2 more energies, 2 more genius, 2 more strength, 2 more Avengers Mansions, 2 Helicarriers, and 2 more tenacity. So 4 makes sense. Why? Because in a 4-player game, everybody would have a basic, similar amount of those basic cards. For aggression, there are a couple cards that were not in the deck, but same thing. So we already saw, I think, all of these. They just were not in Captain Marvel's deck. So justice is the same thing. It's just duplicates of what were in Spider-Man's deck. But leadership is new. So leadership, you get, for allies, you get Hawkeye. So Hawkeye gets to interplay with 4 arrow counters, so basically he gets to do additional damage. Maria Hill, she gets to draw a card. Vision has a electric resource to thwart or attack. Then choose a phase. Vision gets +2 of that chosen power. Get ready, so you get to ready your allies back up, so 3 of those. So leadership really revolves around you and your allies. That's when you play things like Captain America, that makes sense, right? He's going to rally the troops, get you on, lead from the front, as Captain Marvel here is doing. And if I'm not mistaken, I do think Captain Marvel is supposed to be leadership, is also her role. To choose a player, each player controls gets a plus thwart and attack. So you get 3 of those. Make the call. Pay the printed cost of an ally in any player's discard pile. Put that ally into play under your control. So basically, if somebody's got an ally you want, you basically just pay it and you get to use it. Power of leadership. Double the number of resources this card's for leadership cards. So similar to the ones that we saw with Spider-Man and Captain Marvel for both the aggression and the justice decks. Triskelion, increase your hand limit by 1. This allows you to control more than 3 allies, so it increases your ally limit by 1. So your ally limit is normally only 2, so that lets you get 3. And then your upgrade, because all the decks have some type of upgrade, max 1, you get to have +1 thwart and attack, so that's actually much better than the 1 of each that you got in the aggression and justice decks. And then the last one, well, after I pick up the justice, which fell down, the last one is the protection deck. Wow, I just read that too, and it's just crazy. So Black Widow, which kind of seems weird with protection, but when she's revealed from the deck, exhaust Black Widow and spend, when a card is revealed from the encounter deck, you can exhaust her, spend a science, and you cancel that card. Luke Cage, toughness. So toughness means he just gets to take an extra hit before he's actually damaged. Counter punch, if a hero attacks, defends against the enemy attack, deal damage equal to that attack. That's pretty good. Get behind me, so you can tell it's protection. It's kind of, I'm going to either take damage for you or I'm going to retaliate from the damage done to us. Treachery is revealed from the encounter deck. When revealed effects, the villain attacks you instead. So you're basically saying, okay, instead of that treachery, kind of like we saw in the leadership, or not in the leadership, in Spider-Man's deck, which was, what was it again? Justice. Justice for all. You can take it instead of having the thwart. The power of protection, max 2. So this just counts as a double protection card. Med team uses 3 med counters. You get to add med counters. Exhaust to heal 2 damage. So this is really nice. It's also a really good way to keep your allies in play. So if you had protection plus leadership, that'd be a really good combo. Armored vest. When you play, you get plus defense. So again, because you're going to be taking all the big hits, that's nice. After hero defends, discard Indomitable, and you get to ready your hero. So if you defend, you get to defend a second time. So that's really nice too, because normally, or even without that, even if you don't defend again, you might want to be able to attack on your next turn. And of course, if you defended, you can't attack on your next turn. So let me get all these slid back into their places. So these are, I mentioned that I cut these, but they're still slightly wider than the opening here. But that's fine. I prefer a little bit of a tighter fit than having it too loose and everything just kind of falling apart on me. All right. So we'll go through the last thing in here, which are the scenarios. So of course, the first one is Rhino. So you guys saw us play Rhino, or if you haven't seen us play Rhino, you can go back and watch that video. But each villain has 3 phases. So your normal mode, or rookie, you're only going to defeat phase 1. In normal mode, you're defeating phase 2, and it adds something to the game. So in this case, you add a side scheme. And then in third mode, it adds something else, which it basically gave him toughness, and it's stunned. They also increase, as you can tell, in their attack power. Scheme, I don't know about the other ones, we'll see, but Scheme seems to stay the same for Rhino. They give you the instructions of what you need to do. So it'll say, hey, you need this, this, this. You want to add the standard encounter, which we talked about. And then you want to add 1 modular encounter. So again, you can use the modular encounters from this, or you can do any of the other expansions that come out. I guess it depends thematically. Does it make sense to add that encounter or not? So for Rhino, go ahead and throw these down there. For Rhino, he gets additional armor. Now, the cards are used in 2 fashions. One is the actual action here. This is when you're drawing an event card, and then sometimes there will be a little marker down here. Those are added whenever they are scheming or whenever they are attacking. So he does have this, which basically gives him additional armor. Forced interrupt, so basically whenever he gains overkill, it's going to be damage to the actual allies in control. Then it deals it to you as the player, so he has 2 of those. Enhanced Ivory Horn, so this basically allows him to get +1 attack. And I forgot, this actually gives him 3 attack as well. Guard, so Hydra Mercenary, so these are his minions. So he has a couple minions, including Sandman and Shocker, who decided to join the party. Hard to keep down, so revealed, he heals 4 damage. So we had that happen. Was it? No. It was Marvel United when we were playing, and they kept kept healing. I think we beat Thanos 3 times over because he kept healing. So same thing here. Rhino can heal. I'm tough. So this gives him the tough status. Same thing. It allows him to take an extra hit. Stampede, when revealed, if you're an alter ego, he surges, meaning he does another event. If you are a hero, then he attacks you a second time. If the character is damaged, you also get stunned, meaning you can't attack on the next turn, or at least you lose an attack. And then he has 2 side schemes. So he has crowd control and breaking and taken. Breaking and taken means you take 1 extra event card whenever the event goes, and that goes to the first player, or whoever has the first player marker. And then crowd control, you cannot take any threat off of the main scheme until this one has been removed. So very, very difficult to do if you get that pulled out. So the recommended deck to add is Bomb Scare. So this is the module they say to add. So with Bomb Scare, this here is where we're talking about with those threats, where that little token came in, the little counters that I showed you guys. So you basically add 1 additional threat with this one. You get some minions. So you have a Hydra Bomber. It does 2 damage or place 1 threat when he's revealed. Explosion Trickery. If a Bomb Scare is in play, assign damage where the X is the amount of threat. So you want to keep that threat down. Bomb Scare is not, then it gains Surge. So basically, again, draw another event card. False Alarm. You're confused. If you're already confused, you get Surge. So there's 2 of those. And we had that happen quite a few times, the False Alarm on us. And then the next one is the standard deck. So this is what you're going to play in every single deck for the most part. So you get Treachery, so villain schemes. Treachery here, gain Surge, or he attacks you. Caught off guard. Discard your upgrade or support you control. So this is very important. This is why Tony Stark has those abilities to get his upgrades back, because otherwise you're not going to be able to do any damage. Gang up means that everybody's going to attack you. And then Shadows of the Past, this is the only one that's in the deck. This is where you bring your nemesis into play. I just keep sticking them all behind the back one. Alright. So what we haven't played are these next 2 villains. We're going to play them on future streams. Claw is one of the more difficult ones, so he's probably going to be later after we even do some of the expansions. But same thing, he has his 3 different modes here. His scheming actually goes up, so he's very schemy. He can't actually do any damage. Give him 1 additional boost card for this activation. Oh, wow, okay. So those are his 3 modes. And then his main scheme right here, when revealed, discard cards from the counter deck until a minion is discarded. Put that minion into play, engage with the first player. So this gets revealed immediately. Remember, part of the setup is to reveal this, right? Because it's going to tell you, search your deck for that side scheme, reveal it. Oh, no, okay, he's different. So you don't actually put his main scheme into play. Okay, so you put one of his side schemes into play. So I have to find that side scheme. Okay, so these are different. And then, oh no, it does say, okay, it does stay advanced to 1D. Okay, so you do actually put this one into play. So as soon as you put into this to play, you're going to reveal it, so you do have to do that. Okay, that's different. So each one of these is going to be really different. And since we haven't played this, I'm a little bit new to what it does. If this stage is completed, the players lose the game. So he gets to his second stage here. So 2A, reveal, discard from the encounter deck until the minion is discarded. Put that minion into play, engage with the first player, advance to 2B. Alright, so here's the attachment, so he gets additional weapons. We have to spend resources to get rid of it, same as with Rhino. This is another attachment. He gains Retaliate, so after he gets damaged, he damages us back. Same thing, we have to spend to get rid of it. For his little helpers, he's got an armored guard, just random armored guard, you know, nothing special. Well, actually, he's got a couple armored guards. He's got weapons runners, and that's about it. All right. So he doesn't have many minions, and they all look like hired henchmen to me. Claw's Vengeance. So we either discard if we're an alter ego, or he attacks. 2 of those. Sonic Boom. We have to spend resources to exhaust each character you control, or exhaust. Wow, okay, that's a lot. Boost. If the activation damages you, exhaust your hero. Wow, okay. Sound manipulation. If we're an alter ego, he heals 4 damage. If no damage is healed, it surges. Or we can take damage if we are a hero and he heals 2 damage. So this is a healing action. Now I can see why this is more difficult. This one does seem, he's got the 2 main schemes plus a lot of healing and interrupts and a lot of things where you have to discard one of each type to basically make it lose his attachments. So defense network. So this is the one that you pull out at the beginning of the game. Rim revealed, replace 1 additional threat here. And then it does have you can't beat up the main scheme until you beat up the side scheme action on it. I forget what it's called. And then you do have the plus event, and then you have the plus scheme event that is also in there. And then he is recommended to be played with the Masters of Evil, which I believe is also one of the harder side schemes. So I'm saying side module. So you get the Masters of Evil as a side scheme, so that gives additional plus threat. Ooh, wow. All right, so you have Radioactive Man, you have Whirlwind, Tiger Shark, and Melter, which are the Masters of Evil, or in this case, Masters of Mayhem. Each Masters of Evil minion attacks the heroes engaged with. If no attacks are made this way, searching the deck or discard for a minion, put it engaged with you, and then shuffle. So if there isn't one out, it's going to bring one out. And there are 2 of those in that deck. And then we have Ultron. So this is the last core villain in the deck. So you have Ultron here. After Ultron attacks, you choose to either place a threat on the main scheme or interplay face down, engage you as a drone. So there's drone minions. There are cards online that people made that you can actually print out as placeholders. So I might print those out because it would make more sense thematically, at least. Well, 1, 2, and 3. So he stays the same. You get your forced response, but when he gets to stage 4, if you're playing an expert, he doesn't have that forced response anymore. Alright, and then so his main scheme here, when revealed, each player puts a top card of their deck into play face down, engage with them. Okay, so he immediately gives everybody a drone. And then his second scheme is placing during setup villain, place 2 threat here, put the top card of your deck face down, engage as a drone. Okay, so it's one or the other, not good. 3B, threat cannot be removed. If this stage is completed, the players lose the game. So you basically, it's 10, only 10 threat too. That's 20 at least, but that's only 10. Right. So Ultron drones environment. Each face down drone engages. Okay, so they gave additional scheme and attack. Program transmitter. Ultron schemes, you get 1 threat only on each side scheme. Exhaust your hero. So you have to exhaust and spin too. Wow. Okay. Ultron drones, so again, that increases their attack. Advanced Ultron drone, so he has actual minions too. Is a 1/1, and then of course getting this is going to increase that because it still says it's a drone, so that still counts. Android efficiency treachery. When revealed, each player puts the top card of the deck into play. Oh, we add drones, more drones. Rage of Ultron. Ultron schemes, discard the top deck for each threat placed. And then when revealed, Ultron attacks you, discard the top card of your deck and do damage based on that. Repair. Well, Ultron heals 2 damage for each drone that is still in play. That's not good. Swarm attack. When revealed, each drone attacks. No attacks are made. Yeah, that's not good. You add another drone. And then he has side schemes, of course, like normal. You get the increased threat, increase the encounters, and another increase in counter. So his whole thing is getting those drones out, swarming you with drones, and then hoping, well, not in his hope, our hope, that, he doesn't actually get to attack while he has them all out. And then under attack is the side scheme or the module they recommend. So it gives you the ability to prevent you from completing the main scheme. He gets Vibranium Armor. So it basically gives him tough status. Exhaust your, after the villain takes damage, give it tough. So every time if he has this out, you keep adding it until you get rid of it with 2 of the punch ones. Concussion Blast. Attached to a villain, they gain Retaliate. Deal 1 damage to a friendly. Boost. Deal 1 damage to each character you control. Okay. And then the last thing is under attack. When revealed, place each player chooses to place 2 threat. Okay, and same thing. It basically prevents you from completing his main, or from removing his main objective. Right. So those are all the ones that they recommend for the main scenarios that are already built in. The next 2 are the ones that are considered a little bit more difficult. One is Legions of Hydra. If Madam Hydra is not in play, you search and you put her into play, engaged with you. Then shuffle the encounter deck, place 2 additional threat for each Hydra enemy in play. Wow. And then you get same thing, plus 1 additional action. So that's really all that deck is 2 of those. Madam Hydra, there she is. Madam Hydra cannot take damage while Legions of Hydra side scheme is in play. Wow. And then forced response, so after she does one of her things, Madam Hydra schemes or attacks, place 2 threat. Oh, so it keeps increasing the threat. Yeah, that's nasty. And then Hydra Soldier has guard. While this minion is engaged with you, cannot attack the villain. And then deal the engaged player encounter card when defeated. So you get an encounter when you defeat them. Yeah, that seems nasty. That seems nasty. That's a after we've learned really how to play the game type thing, because I don't think we want to even come close to trying that at our current current level. All right, and then the second one is the Doomsday Chair. This is the second module. I think this is supposed to be the hardest module. If MODOK is not in play, search for MODOK, put him into play. Of course, so there's 2 of those for the side scheme. And then here is MODOK. Cyborg Elite, retaliate 2. After this character is attacked, deal 2 damage to the attacking character. Okay, so instead of 1. And then he has an attachment tech. Attach a minion with the highest points and without any other biomechanical, which is, I guess, this is my land. Yep. Forced interrupt. When attached, minion would be defeated. Heal all damage. Then discard this card. So you basically have to defeat the minion twice, and it's the one with the highest hit points. And that's all that's in here. It's just 3 of the... Wow, that's got to make it hard. I mean, now, we've gone through a game where we didn't pull any minions, so I guess it's not impossible that those cards would ever be used. But I could see if you get a minion that's got 5 hit points, that just made him basically a 10 hit point minion. Then the last part is expert mode. So what you do is you add these 3 additional cards into expert mode, and you'll see that they are very rough when these get pulled. 1, it surges. So it automatically gives you another card, right? Another event card. But then when it's revealed, you have to exhaust. Meaning you can't even guard against the next one. Well, if you have an ally, you can throw your ally to the wolves, but that's about the only way. Master plan. When revealed, place 4 threats on each side scheme. If there's no side schemings in play, discard this card from the top of the encounter deck until a side scheme is discarded, and then you reveal that side scheme. So basically, if you don't have a side scheme, it's going to put one out. If you do, it's going to add threat to it. And then the last one is under fire. You get surge, so again, you're going to have to take another event card, and then reveal the top card of the encounter deck. So not only you do this, you're going to surge, meaning you got to take another card, plus you have to also do the next card. So it's really, this here is 3 in one go. 1 to pull this, and then 2 more on top of that. So you can see expert mode is not for the faint of heart or the new players. Now, I've seen one, I'll fix that later. I've seen on Board Game Geek where a lot of people play only solo expert mode. They never even go back. So like Guardians of the Galaxy is like really hard, and they never tried the basic mode. So for us, I don't know if we would ever play expert. If you guys would like to see expert, let us know down in the comments. Of course, if you like this kind of content, make sure you hit that subscribe and bell notification. Hit the thumbs up button to let us know that you like this video. Comment with whatever you want to comment about what we've talked about, or what I got wrong, or what I should have done better. And until next time, guys, peace.